the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Welcome to another event, another show, another program where we are striving hard to feed you, Jock Nation. This is a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive, and we definitely want to stay alive. So we have a very, very important show for you tonight. This is the show, we call it Matters of the Heart, but it's not talking about love, it's talking about your physical heart. It's talking about taking care of yourself. We want to make sure that if we are to be the rulers of this new world that's coming in, we want to be fit physically to rule. So we have an important show for you tonight. We have an important guest, but before we bring him on, I would like to go and reintroduce you to our go-getter brother, my brother from the ATL born. He's a survivor, and my brother Abdul Kawi Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for watching another episode of the Jock Brother Presents. Let us make man Jock Nation. Thank you again for tuning in for, like Brother Jacob said, a very important show. It's about just being alive, just being fit, and matters of the heart. I am a survivor. I know that I'm gonna let you know straight up. I had a heart attack, and my brother Desmond, he called and to the hospital to look over me and made those doctors do what they needed to do for my very survivor. So this show hits me very personally. So please share this show. And for those that have always supported the Jock Nation throughout our 4 years in existence in podcast, thank you. We can't thank you enough. For those that have supported the Jock Brothers with financial donations over time, we thank you for that. The words cannot express how much we appreciate the financial donations that you have given to the Jock Nation. So we ask you to share this show. We ask you to subscribe to our show, and we ask you, of course, to hit the bell. And for those like the Jock Nation, Jock Brothers, we try to be more than just a podcast. We actually try to make a difference in our communities. And we have an initiative, a prison initiative, and we should try to get the Final Call newspaper behind bars to our brothers and sisters around the country. I have been in contact with several of the regional prison ministers, and as well with the national prison ministers, try to put something together that can make sure this Final Call is circulating behind bars. So we ask you to get behind that initiative, and that is we want to get this Final Call automatically sent to them straight from the Final Call headquarters. So for to make that happen for 90 days is like an $18 donation. And so again, when you are sending donations to the Jock Brothers, as you can see, there's a Cash App rolling at the bottom of the screen. But thank you, Brother Jackie, for hitting that button. But yeah, that's how you send donations to the Jock Brothers. Do our Cash App, $ Jock Bros, $ JAKQBROS. If you're making a donations to our prison initiative, just the dollar amount alone will let us know that that's going to the prison initiative. You can also put it in the memo section. Now, we don't know. I personally have a goal of just to get going. It used to be 1,000 inmates. It used to be 1,000 inmates. But my goal for me personally, because of the work that it takes to get these Final Calls behind bars, has reduced a little bit. I'm trying to get to that 100. Just 100 brothers we send that Final Call to. And so we don't know those many brothers personally. But if you know somebody behind bars that you would like for them to get the Final Call newspaper, you can send it to our email account. We have a jockbrothersviewers@gmail.com. We'll need their name. We need their inmate number, the facility they're at. If you have the chaplain information, whatever you can give us to make this process go a lot smoother, that'd be great. Again, jockbrotherviewers@gmail.com. Just in case you know somebody personally that would like to receive that Final Call newspaper subscription on a weekly basis. So that's what I have, Brother Jacob. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Kawi. All right, Jock Nation. We have our brother who's a reoccurring visitor to the Jock Brothers. He's definitely helping us out with matters of the health. Last time he came on, we dealt with the kidneys, diabetes, the kidneys, and whatnot. And it was a very, very good show. And we wanted to bring him back, and he wanted to come back and speak about the heart, which is a silent killer. You know, the American Heart Association says that by 2050, 61% of U.S. adults will have cardiovascular disease. I mean, what are we doing? What is 60% of the population doing the same that's leading to our death? And we want to discuss that tonight, dealing with our brother. So if you have any questions or concern, please, Jock Nation, come on in. Now, this is our brother Desmond Muhammad. We go back from Florida, but we're both in here in Georgia. Our brother, he's a Broward County Community College graduate. He's been a registered nurse since 1999. He started out in the cardiac division, and he went from there. He went to dialysis in 2005, and where he heads one of the units here in the city of Atlanta. So our brother is well versed. He's highly rated. I spoke with another brother who works in the health field, and he speaks so highly of you, Brother Desmond. So, you know, we thank you for accepting our invitation. We thank you for coming on. So, Jock Nation, with no more from myself, please welcome our guest, Brother Desmond Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Islam. Praise be to Allah.
Man, the heart, brother, the heart. It seems to be a silent killer. It sneaks up on us, man. What can you tell us, first of all? What did you learn when you went into that field? What was some of the surprising things that maybe you've learned about the heart that you like?
Well, let me begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bear witness, there's no God but Allah. Bear witness, Muhammad is his messenger. And on behalf of our student regional minister, Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad, who behest I serve, I'd like to greet you firstly, Jack Brothers and Jack Nation, and the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yeah, and I'd like to say firstly, before we even get into the subject matter, thank you for allowing me, Brother Jackie and Brother Kawi, on this platform. I wanted to read something from the Holy Quran to your audience that encapsulates your show, and that these 4 years, hopefully what I read will energize you to go for 40 more years.
Come on, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I want to tell everyone to support, and the reason why you should support a show like this. So Surah 21 verse 17 said, had we wished to take a pastime, we would have taken it from before our eyes. By no means would we do so. It's not an option. Nay, we hurl the truth against falsehood, so it knocks out its brains, and lo, it vanishes. And woe to you for what you describe. So all of the false information that's out there, shows like this one is of great importance, because there's nothing more important than the truth. So I want to commend you for 4 years, and we pray Allah that he strengthens your audience and that he make you stronger and a greater exponent of the truth that you want to represent.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I received that, Brother D. Thank you. Yes, sir.
To Allah. What did I learn about the heart? Well, one of the first things we learn is, of course, the anatomy, where it is, and the structure, and then the physiological aspect of it, how it works in relation to other organs in the body. I didn't realize how great of a segment of the population that suffered from heart or cardiovascular diseases. And it didn't appear to me that our diet regimen in America, and in the West in particular, and in and the stress levels that compounds, of course, a diet regimen that's not, I would say, best suited for the best life and lifestyle. How ignorant the public is and unaware the public is of what affects the heart. And we're being marched into, I would say, prison camps and ovens, and metaphorically, the death without knowing. So it's like lambs being, led to a slaughter and not having the idea that we're being killed slowly because one, lack of information, or two, information, but ignoring that information. That's one of the things I was most surprising about the heart.
Yeah, because as you was speaking, I'm saying I've had so many blood tests. Blood pressure tests, and it's actually telling me the pressure that the heart is going through is actually describing, the amount of pressure that the heart is working and whatnot. So if we ignore those numbers, we are ignoring how we're treating our body, how our heart is functioning, the health of the heart, the workings of the heart. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, you summed it up. I'd like to just make it just a little bit more precise.
Yes, sir.
And so you have in your vascular, you have arteries, you have which takes oxygenated blood to different parts of the body, and then you have, of course, your veins, which bring waste and deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body to be excreted, of course, through process, liver, kidney, waste. But all of this is done through the cardiovascular system, which is the heart that's responsible for pumping that blood throughout the body and bringing things back and dropping things off. But your systolic, your top number is that represents the maximum pressure in your arteries when the heart is actually contracting, right? So that's your systolic. Typically, we want it around 120, 115, 125, 130. Once you start getting to the 140s and higher, then those pressures are too high. And then you have your diastolic pressure, which is that bottom number that represents the minimum pressure when the heart is at rest. So typically, 60, 70, 75. So you could imagine when you're 200 over 100, it appears that you're doing tremendous work, but we're not. And so that kind of pressure on the heart and that pressure that the heart represents in those arteries suggests that it's having a hard time getting that blood through those blood vessels. And the more difficult it is to get that blood through the blood vessels, then the contractility of the heart, how forcefully it could pump. There's a way of measuring that. So, when your heart has to, which is naturally going to do, compensate. Is if you're running on a treadmill, let's say your heart was beating at 60 beats per minute. Once you start picking up the pace, well, if you put your hand on that sensor, your heart is going to pick up the pace also.
Yes, sir.
Because the body is made to survive. And so the heart responds. We call that the compensation method. But there's something called overcompensatory. And so you don't want the heart always overcompensating, trying to keep up with the demands of a high pressure. And so oftentimes that contractility over a long period of time, chronically, what we say, begins to weaken the heart. And once those heart muscles begin to weaken, then you're running into a whole lot of other problems that we don't have the time to discuss, but we don't have the life to sacrifice either.
So we spoke earlier, speaking of the food and how it affects the body and how it affects the heart. I wonder, can you speak on, what foods may disturb the heart more? Does sugar affect the heart? sugar is in. We were speaking on this earlier. We was talking about sugar. We really need to get into, sugar. Is over 236 different names of sugar. So, how does that affect the heart? Food itself, how does it affect the heart? Like, do they even teach that? Is that something that's talked about in the medical profession, or is it something that we've been taking for granted for years, or what?
Well, we're in the South, and I don't want nobody to shoot me.
Bro, we got some macaroni and cheese in here, right? You might as well start shooting, bro.
When you talk about, let's say, we're in the southern part of the United States of America, where pork is a staple, very highly saturated in fat. And you're talking about, string beans, but you add fat back to it.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, here's a conscious human being adding fat, which builds up plaque in the heart, which narrows the heart because of all that buildup. It's like a plumbing line, but there's gunk in there, if you would. And of course, the narrower that vessel gets, the more pressure it is on the heart to be more forceful to try to get blood through that. And so fried foods increases cholesterol. And so fried foods is something that we should not frequent. As a matter of fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaks about it in How to Eat to Live. And, that's a book that we should showcase whenever we're having shows like this, because How to Eat to Live, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaks out against, fried foods, how we should boil our foods, what kind of foods we should boil. And so fried foods is an enemy of the heart. It's an enemy of the cardiovascular heart vessels. It's just not good. And when you talk about sugar, when we have, high sugar content in our blood, over time, what it does is it can change the elasticity of those smaller blood vessels. Smaller blood vessels in your peripheral, your toes, your eyes, right? Reproductive organs. And once they start to lose elasticity, remember, those are semi-permeable blood vessels, which let certain things in, much like a coffee filter, let certain things out. Well, when you affect that gateway, then you're affecting the natural flow or physiological process in which your body exchange nutrients, waste, and different things. So sometimes, once you start affecting those vessels, then you start seeing, in combination with the different things, swelling of the legs, real huge. And so that's water getting into spaces where it shouldn't be. And of course, the more constricted you are in your peripheral, your feet, your hands, then you put more pressure on the heart at that time to do its job. So definitely stay away from fried foods. The second thing I would say is a killer is processed foods. Right? How do you know foods are processed? The first thing you could think about is you got to open it from a plastic.
We in the South, Desmond. Hold on. Everything is in plastic, brother.
Most likely. And so those foods are filled with preservatives. They have things I can't pronounce. I struggle pronouncing, even with I believe a broad vocabulary. I still have problems pronouncing some of the things that they have in there. Just remember, everything that we ingest, that liver has to clear some of those poisons, those toxins, break it down. That kidney has to work overtime. And so that heart has to work double overtime, bringing those waste away from and taking oxygenated blood and nutrients too. So processed foods is a killer. It's not something that we want. And once you have a lot of processed foods that maybe high in things that they inject, high in phosphorus, and then your parathyroid hormone has to help to balance the calcium, phosphorus in your blood. Now you're overworking your glands and your endocrine system. It's just a cascade effect of overworking our bodies. And it's just not a good scenario when our diet is not right. And I could see why How to Eat to Live is law in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir. We had the book earlier displayed. I'm wondering
yes, sir.
how we can display it.
Yes, sir.
I need to live. But I want to go back, Brother Desmond, with something you said about the building. Yeah, this is How to Eat to Live by the Elijah Muhammad that we're speaking about. So I wanted to, Brother Desmond, you said it's a buildup in the heart itself. Whenever we eat fried food or eat things that, fatty foods or whatnot. So inside the heart itself, there's a buildup, or is it just in the arteries? Or the
Well, well, both, because because the arteries of the heart, the vessels of the heart, also is used to oxygenate the heart. Since the heart is a muscle, it also needs oxygenation.
Yes, sir.
So if you're restricting the flow of blood within the heart muscle itself, not even withstanding the rest of the body,
right,
then you're depriving the very vessel that should be taking care of the rest of the vessel. You see what I'm saying? So it compounds the situation, because now you're limiting the heart, which is supposed to be at full capacity to take care of the rest of the body. Mm-hmm. You see what I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, but we need to hear it like that so that we'll notice, the seriousness of it. That's what I'm thinking. So, man, bro, Kawhi, brother, you want to get in here?
Kawhi's the numbers man. He about to read you some numbers.
Sir.
Go those statistics, brother Kawhi, bro. Let's get those numbers.
Just for the record.
Just for the record. Okay, yes.
I know we're living in the South, and I know that lemon pepper wings and garlic parmesan, and I know that's a staple food down here. But we got to cut that down. There has to be a way to cook our foods, to bake some of our foods, and to stay away from all those fried foods, and stop reaching for that 10 piece or that 20 piece, because it's slow death.
Slow death.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna read these numbers, and then I'm gonna get into my.
What did I say? He gonna read some numbers.
Yeah, let's read some numbers, brother.
Well, according to the research, 7 million people around the world have a heart attack each year.
Woo!
7 million. 605,000 have heart attacks each year in the United States, new cases. I think the current number, though, Brother Desmond mentioned the current number, or was it you, Brother Jackie? It was like
I think that was me.
To date, and we're just in August.
Say it again. What was the number?
605,000 per year have heart attacks. New cases.
New cases. But almost a million deaths related to cardiovascular diseases. That's heart and the cardiovascular system.
Yes, sir.
So far for 2024.
Now,
1 million.
Approaching a million, yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, between the ages of 20 and 29, and this is per 100,000 individuals between this age. 2.1 have heart attacks between 20 and 29, which is an extraordinarily high number for age 20 and between 20 and 29. Between 30 and 39, 16.9. It increases like 8 times.
Oh, wow.
From the 20s to the 30s per 100,000, and then from the 40 to 49, I didn't even want to look at the rest of it. It was 97.6 heart attacks
out of 100.
Out of 100,000.
Yes,
between that age group. Now, when I looked over 50, it was much like I don't want to read that number. I'm in that category. It's super high.
Read it, brother, because I'm in that category.
I didn't even write it down.
Yes.
Write it down. Most heart attacks take place between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning. Most heart attacks take place around Christmas time, according to this right here. The most common causes of heart attacks is like Brother Desmond just said: sugar, animal fat, processed food, trans fats, salts. That's the number one trigger for heart attacks. The black man and woman. Well, more especially the black man over the age of 45, the highest classification of a ethnic group to have heart attacks. Twice as many as Caucasians. Twice as many as Caucasian. It's the number goes to 55 for women. They start to have heart attacks. But the average age of a heart attack is like 65 years old. But it has been like 50 and up has been like the most increasing number since this last 10 years. Let me see. Since the 2020s, the 50 and up has been like having the more heart attacks since COVID-19, they say. So those are crazy numbers. I'm a victim of that statistic that I didn't even want to read. And what Desmond just pointed out, fried food. I'm a single man, and so I don't cook well, and so I was eating a lot of fast foods. I was, and that cholesterol buildup that the student minister Desmond talked about, I was definitely a victim of. It was cholesterol that caused my heart attack. My question, Brother Desmond, is, you talked about the plaque buildup in the arteries, and if you get the numbers prior, say you get the numbers prior to a heart attack, you got, say it's like 50%, 60% blockage. You get that type of number. What could you do to reverse the blockage?
Well, the first thing you can always do is adjust diet. Wherever you are, you don't want to compound it by making it worse. So you want to be like that traffic cop to say, hey, I understand I'm at 50% here, I'm at 20% here, whatever that number is, but I don't want to add to it. The other mindset that you want to get into is that some people say, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die anyway, I'm going to die of something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but self-preservation is the first law of nature. And deep down inside, we just don't want to die. As sweet as heaven has sounded to us, as no one is killing themselves trying to get a fast track passport to heaven.
Definitely.
So obviously the dynamic to live, the thrust to live is in each and every one of us. So the first thing is to make that adjustment. The second thing is to get How to Eat to Live by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which has been showcased by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and certainly his staff at the Final Call. You want to get that book because that book teaches us what to eat, when to eat, and how to prepare the foods. For the sisters, you can get into throughout the Nation of Islam Mosque and Study Group, the MGT and GCC class on Saturday mornings that teaches the science of everything. So, God taught the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that's not an aspect of health that we want to just cast aside and speak about in a marginal way. It's actually very, very, very important that we speak about what is offered by God to remedy our ills. Right. The next thing is to, you want to hydrate. You want to reduce stress because stress compounds everything. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said stress is defaulting duty.
Wow.
Can't get a definition better than that. Whether it's intentional, unintentional, right? Advertent or inadvertent. He said stress is default in duty. Yes, whether you're born with congenital defects or you got traumatized or, whatever happened in between, the inability to respond to demands that are made is by his definition stress.
Yes, sir.
And so saying that we're too busy, it's another great, I would say, harm to most of us. We're too, quote unquote, busy. Well, 168 hours in a week, and we find ourselves running to jobs and running from jobs and running to other jobs. And there always seems to be this steady, just pace, if you would, with not enough time to relax, not enough time to think, to contemplate, to meditate, to plan our days, plan our meals, plan how we're gonna, live our lives. plan children. Everything can't be oops, 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 another child, oops, oops, oops. Everyone is an oops child. Why are you laughing, Brother Jackie?
Go ahead, B.
Because you can't take oops to Publix.
Yes, sir.
You can't take oops to BJ's, and you can't take oops to the farmer's market, right? And so, because we live in a capitalistic society, we have to plan our lives. Lack of planning puts us in survival mode, as our student minister, Dr. Ava, peace be upon her, so wonderfully mentioned, that we can't be in innovative mode, right? Because we're always in survival mode.
Yes, sir.
So that's another thing that we can do, begin to plan our lives. And then, of course, seek medical attention, because there are some procedures that can be done, invasive, of course, cardiac invasive procedures, to break up that plaque and then, extract it from our cardiovascular system. Sometimes stents have to be put in, to widen that vessel, so to make breathing, somewhat normal again.
Oh, yes, sir. Now, you, before we get into it, you mentioned hydrate. You said properly hydrate. Is that important when it comes to the heart? Just being properly.
Yeah, drinking water, because when you hydrate, water is essential for living. Your body has what is called a pH balance. That has to be proper. Your body is a chemistry lab. And so for chemistry to take place between liver and blood, between lungs and blood, between kidneys and blood, between organ and organ, between capillaries and veins, there has to be this constant exchanging of not just information, but nutrients in the body. And so you want your water system to be balanced. If it's imbalanced, then your body's always trying to compensate and overcompensate, because we're not properly hydrated. So clean glass of water. And the water, let me just say this very publicly, and I know I don't care about job security and things of that nature. I have a family to feed, don't get me wrong, but city water, they use chlorine to clean the water, of course, but that's a hard metal, and that can cause neurological damage, you see, and a whole lot of other damage. And then some cities, if you test the water, you'll end up with what is called chloramines, which means that they used chlorine and ammonium to help to clean that water. So, water straight from the faucet is not something that we should drink or cook with. That's a no-no. We should stop that immediately, because once you introduce those hard metals, which has chemical properties, then you begin to change also the chemical composition of your blood and of your body. So that's something that we want to stay away from. That tap water is just not good for us. But poor people don't know that. We're just drinking it by the gallons.
Absolutely. Now we have a question from the audience that says, is there any food that can decrease the blockage in the heart?
I've heard that a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, if you would, and a glass of water every day helps to decrease that. That's something I'll have to do more research on, but that's what I've heard is probably the number one remedy to decrease some of the plaque. Now, one of the things that we have to be very conscious of is, and that's a very good question, is that typically preventive measures that we speak about are preventive measures. So when we have a situation where we've already compounded and reach a certain level, then those are not preventive measures anymore, because those are drastic measures we have to take. Like, case in point, there may be garlic tea and different things that you take to, simmer your blood pressure and take your blood pressure down. But when you're 220 over 120, right, it's not the time to neglect going to a physician in the name of drinking some garlic tea, hoping it's going to bring it down. No, you're going to stroke out. Jackie, why are you laughing?
That's us, brother.
I don't mean for it to be funny, but I mean that sometimes that's the way we think. because
You're gonna go do
remember
it.
now we remember by the time it reaches a certain point, preventive measures don't work anymore
Right.
because the measures have to be drastic at that point
Right.
because the situation is drastic. So Minister Farrakhan said, time dictates the agenda. So very good question.
So another question from the audience as well. How important does exercise play in maintaining good heart health?
Well, man, outside of the diet regimen being first, and of course your mental peace, then exercise would have to be next in line. One thing exercise does is it speeds up metabolism. So it speeds up the pumping of the blood, it speeds up the removal of waste. Exercise opens everything up, your blood vessels, your breathing, your lung capacity. When I listen with a good stethoscope to an athlete versus a non-athlete, the auscultation, the listening of that lung is so pronounced in the athlete. I can tell already as an athlete.
Really?
Absolutely.
So
It's like
when you're listening, so when you, that's what you're listening to when
the
you go
expanding of the lungs.
you say breathing, and you
Play a difference. Right? And also what exercise does is certain hormones are pumped into the blood, happy hormones. So there's a certain relaxation, a certain happiness that comes with exercise. And so it's the buildup of muscle, number one. It's the eradication of fat, number two. So we're getting healthier, to that person's question, through waste elimination. Fat tends to trap a lot of toxins. Fasting, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan so eloquently has said, removes the toxins or the buildup, or the toxins, the toxins that come naturally with food, byproducts, waste products. And so fasting helps to eliminate that. But exercise also helps to eliminate a lot of the waste and strengthen the body, strengthen the bones, and just regulate our affairs even better. It even regulates how we go to bathroom. And so exercising is a very good important. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, fast-paced walking. It's the best exercise we can do. So whatever you do, swim, basketball, tennis, it's very important for the heart, because what it does also is when you exercise, it makes a greater demand on the heart. And since the heart is a muscle, it also helps to strengthen the muscle. But you're not doing it for a prolonged period of time to the extent where it's overcompensation for days and months. But that burst of energy, that helps to strengthen the cardiac muscle. There's something called ejection fraction. And there's a measure of how the heart elasticity works. And typically 65, 75%, it pumps with a certain vigor. But, when it gets slow and it gets, and it can't do its job, then there's waste accumulation, there's water buildup, the necks get distended with water. You could see water in the veins, called a jugular vein distension. It's just so many things that happen that puts even more pressure on the heart. And then obesity, of course, it's like throwing gasoline on that fire.
So if you work the heart, or if you damage the heart, and then you come back and you do everything right, you lose weight, lose fat, you open your arteries and whatnot, does the heart heal itself? Does it heal back regular? Does it like if you overstretch it, does it pop back in place? Is it just as healthy, or how is the recovery of the heart?
Well, good question. There are cases where I've seen the ejection fraction of the heart get better, but it's not guaranteed. And so that's not a dice that we want to roll, or a chance that we want to take. Of course, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did that 58-week lecture series, The Time and What Must Be Done, of course, on that wheel, where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farad Muhammad there is information and knowledge of how to repair and rejuvenate our organs. That's not known to this world yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, brother.
And we say that unapologetically.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, D. Yes, sir.
So, I have the stents, right? I know they tell me to take these thinners all the time, and I take a lot of thinners. Can you explain to me, like, is there another way, alternative to taking thinners all the time? Because I think one time I took them and I started to bruise, and that's
bruise.
Yeah, I started to bruise.
Well, when you're on blood thinner, the question is, what blood thinner are you on?
Oh, wow.
Is it warfarin? Is it Coumadin? There's some blood thinners. The Coumadin used to be the one that they use all the time, and there's a test that can be done to see how thin the blood is. And so when you do that test periodically, then then your physician will say, hey, increase it by so many milligrams, or decrease it, or take it one Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but only take half every Tuesday or Thursday, because we don't want it too thin. So what happens with the heart? Okay, if you can, the heart is mechanical, number one, and it's also electrical. I don't think a lot of people recognize that, right? There's the mechanical part that pumps, but there's the electrical part that stimulates the heart to pump. And so, so the heartbeat that you feel certainly is how many times a minute it pumps, but that comes from the electricity of the heart. Now, there's some electricity that starts in the upper part of the heart. They call it the SA node, that beats naturally 60 to 100 times per minute. And when we put those leads on you and do an EKG to see, what the rhythm is, we can tell by certain markers where your heart's starting to beat. So if you lose that ability in the upper segment of the heart, then another node takes over, which is 40 to 60 times per minute, and then, that's a whole nother subject at another time.
Right.
But the point is that it's very important to note that the heart is electrical. Also, the heart has rhythms. When you eat certain foods and you lack potassium, or you're too high in potassium, you can have different rhythms of the heart. When you have cardiovascular disease, you could have different rhythms of the heart. You could have atrial fibrillation, 200-300 times the top part of the heart beating instead of 60 to 70 times. Now, the ventricular could be responding at 80 times per minute. So when you feel your pulse, it feels like 80, but the top part of your heart is 200 to 300 times per minute. And so when that happens and it fibrillates like that, there's a pooling of blood. So it doesn't get to empty the atriums, the top part of the heart. And so the blood staying back begins to form clots. If the clot is formed and then it dislodges and it travels to another part of the body, let's say the lungs, most times it's lights out. It travels to the brains, most time it's a severe stroke. Sometimes it gets trapped in the leg and you could feel the warmth and see the leg swelling, and then intervention is much easier. But if it dislodges and gets to the lungs, gets to the heart, gets to a major artery, then sometimes, usually, the mortality rate is very high. So that blood has to remain to some degree thin because with plaque with plaque formation, you can have the clotting of blood, because the blood it tends to aggregate and come together with some of that plaque, some of the waste product, and form a clot. And if that clot dislodges, then it could be deadly. So you're weighing taking blood thinners versus lights out. We choose the better of two evils, thinning the blood.
Wow. And that's that blood clot seems to be prevalent now in our community. I mean, different reasons for different vaccines, whatever different things going on. The blood clot seems to be has taken a rise in our community. Now,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. You was gonna say.
I know that with COVID vaccine, there's a lot of reports out of something called TTP and ITP, which is thrombocytopenia, which is microclots. And there seems to be reports that there's a lot of that being reported with the apparent deaths of people from who took the COVID vaccine. And of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on July 4th, 2020, sounded the alarm not to take the vaccine. And time he had to take the abuse, certainly, of our disbelief and of our pejorative talk in the media.
Yes,
nasty talk, vituperative talk, just nasty, slanderous talk. But he had to take that abuse until further proof came that proved that he spoke the truth. And so these microclots and some of the diseases that I'm talking about, they're really idiopathic, meaning they don't know what causes some of these autoimmune diseases. But there's been a lot of cases mentioned with the vaccine that it's not actually those disease, but the symptoms and the signs that are presenting mimic some of these autoimmune disease, such as TTP and ITP, which is another subject for another time. But if you just Google TTP, look, for those of you who say explain everything, stop it. Google it.
Google
TTP medical, TTP disease, ITP disease, and educate yourself. You Google everything else, Google it.
Yes, sir. So now here's one more question, brother, because time has just flew by. We was having fun. A brother said, brother, you said to avoid fried foods. Noted. He says, is there a safe amount to consume of fried food? Say like once a month, twice a year, or should it be avoided altogether?
Well, we were told to avoid it altogether. Of course, with residual Negro syndrome in each and every one of us.
We live in Niggerville, brother.
Once or twice a month, but limited to that. I'm just trying not to make it a weekly thing. Stay away as much as possible from fried foods. I know sometimes we tend to think little white lies don't hurt, so once or twice won't hurt, but I try my best not to as much as possible. And you're going to have a craving for it every so often. Well, relate to that craving, but don't let it be a natural part of your planning process.
Right.
In the foods that you eat.
That's a good point, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to say before you get to your next question, brother Jackie, that spiritually, our unity depends. Our health depends on our unity, giving each other information and also depending on each other and ourselves. If not, we're gonna find ourselves under more stress. Whatever product Brother Jackie has, like your business, we should support it to make you more financially suitable, to continue some of the things that you're doing.
make me rich. Let's go, black people.
Stress is defaulting duty. And Minister Farrakhan said that America and this world is unraveling. And as this world begins to unravel more, then, whatever product you have, Brother Kawi, we should support. Like Minister Sharif has the water, we should support that. Brother Jackie has his trucking. We should support that. Whatever we have, we should support it, because together our unity, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, solves, 90% of our problems or so overnight. Don't quote me on the number, but it's a very high number.
95%.
95% overnight. Yes. So it's very notable to say that part of our stress in America is that we're looking for justice from a people and a system of that people, Caucasians, that will give us justice where we'll be at ease in our minds to regulate our affairs, regulate our life, regulate our diets, to have better outcomes for our heart and for the rest of our systems.
Yes, sir. Well, on that note, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we need to take our mouth out of our enemies. So definitely, brothers and sisters, we see the value of food. We see the effects of bad food. It affects the heart, the liver, the lungs, the kidneys, everything that that is supposed to be in unity disrupts the unity in the systems in the body. So we definitely want to change our bad habits and replace them with good habits. We want to display how to eat to live again, brother Kawi, so that
Yes, sir.
those of our guests, those of you that are not aware, this book here, this is what you call preventive medicine. We're in prevention. The Nation of Islam, we are in prevention. We try to get to you before
That's right.
bad part. So this book, How to Eat to Live, there are 2 books. You can go to www.noi.org or finalcall.store and order these 2 monumental books, book 1 and book 2, How to Eat to Live. So, all right, brother Desmond, we want to thank you once again. I mean, this time went by fast, and
Woo!
it went by fast, man. But we want to thank you for taking time out to answer these questions. The brothers and sisters absolutely enjoyed you. Definitely, absolutely enjoyed you, man. So thank you for coming on once again. But I'd like to offer you any closing words, brother Desmond, that you would like to leave the Jock Nation with.
Yeah, I actually recommended a book outside of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
I got it. Hold on a second.
Yeah, and it's Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And it's by Robert Sapolsky, and it goes into the physiological, how stress affects the body. And so I encourage everyone to get that book, because it's written in layman terms. And after you read that book, you might stop stressing over a lot of little things that we stress over when we find out how much damage we're doing to our bodies. And so closing remarks, I'd like to firstly thank you, Jack Brothers, for allowing me, and Jack Nation for opening your hearts and your smartphones and smart devices. Of course, always shout out to Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad for permitting me to be on this show. He's a wonderful regional minister, and I certainly adore the fact that he, the mission of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stays on his lips. he seems to be never distracted. I'd like to say to you that the topic, matters of the heart, are serious. That physiologically, how our heart works, it's very important, because as we extend life, we want to make sure that we have a high quality of life. Matters of the heart are serious as it pertains to marriage also. But when we present ourselves for marriage, we want to present ourselves, as healthy as we can, spiritually, mentally, physically, morally, and financially, to have good marriage. So take good care of yourself. Don't be so busy that we're taking care of the affairs of everyone else, because matters of our personal hearts are serious, because you can't be no good to anyone else if you can't be good to yourself, and you can't help anyone else if you can't first help yourself. And just remember that when we drop dead, the way corporate America is, they'll have someone else in our place before God gets the news. So let's be very, very, very honest with ourselves and be a lot more pensive and serious about our health from this day forward. And don't beat yourself, because remember, we some of us got in the condition that we in very slowly. It didn't happen overnight. So, we're going to have a protracted and projected period of time where we can make positive incremental changes and growth towards the evolution of what we're trying to see in ourselves. So, don't be so hard on yourself. Just be consistent with yourself. And may Allah bless you on your journey and bless me on my journey to better health. Thank you for having me.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Beautiful word. Brother Kawi.
Yes, sir. Before I do final words, I want to give a shout out to a couple of believers that joined our show. Amina Muhammad.
That's my wife, Chief.
That's right, brother.
Matters of the heart are serious.
That's right. Matters of the heart, brother.
She was very active in the thread. I really appreciate that, Sister Mina. I pray all is well with you. We got Sister Eurylice.
Sister Eurylice, shout out. She teaches
shout out. Very active. Brother Khalil from LA.
Hi, Brother Khalil.
Thank you, brother. Brother Ghazi.
Ghazi, man.
Yeah.
Farming, the engine of a nation, farming, Brother Ghazi.
Right.
Beautiful brother.
Right.
And once again, Student Minister Des, we thank you for taking our invitation to come on the show. Beautiful show. A lot of information. You made some things very, very clear and obvious to us that we better take heed to. It behooves us to take heed to. Right. So I really like the way you broke down and explained what those numbers read when they take the blood pressure and the importance of them. Mm-hmm. So now, so just to get those numbers now, I'm gonna be a lot more attentive. I used to just say, "I'm alive," right? That's what I used to say to him. Now I know how to have that real conversation with him. So thank you for coming to our show. Also, Brother Desmond, I know that you wanted to, when it came down to the single social, you want to do a little announcement with it. Do you want to still do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, August 31st, the MGT here in Atlanta and the GCC is putting on a singles event, and we're promoting marriage and healthy marriage, and we want everyone who's single to sign up. Just scan that barcode that you see there at the bottom, and come out to a great event to promote marriage, to promote courtship in the Nation of Islam, because the devil threatens us with not just poverty, but with being single and with just shacking and with doing things outside of God's way. So we want to promote God's way. We've tried every other way and we've suffered tremendously. So we want to try Allah's way. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a great example of healthy marriage. And we have a lot of people in the nation who are great examples. So don't just listen to, the one or two people who got divorced, and all of a sudden now you use that as a justification to stay divorced, to stay unmarried. We have people who are happily married. Mm-hmm. So please come out to the singles event, and you never know, you may find your soulmate at this event. We're looking forward to it. So Sister Nuseba, Student Regional MGT Captain, and her staff is putting this on. Big shout out to you all. Continue to make that forum available for the believers to meet each other, under healthy circumstances, and hopefully have strong magnetism towards each other. And let's build these marriages.
That's right. You heard Brother Desmond. He said the devil threatened you with shacking up. You heard that. All right, brother. Well, thank you once again, Jock Nation, for coming on. That was a great program, but it was too fast. We got to have Brother Desmond back. He's a regular contributor now to the Jock Nation, brother. So thank you for that, Brother Desmond.
Praise be to Allah.
Because we want to make sure we have a healthy nation, and we want to make sure that the nation understand how your body works. The original man knows every square inch of his earth. But
and has chosen for himself.
And have chosen for himself the best part. So definitely we have to learn. We must learn how to take care of self, how the body operates. So we want to have more shows like this, because definitely those of us who are up in age a little, we up in our 50s, we want to do what we can to extend our life, because we want to see this hereafter.
That's right.
So thank you all once again, Jock Nation. Thank you all for allowing us to come before you. Like we say, man, another one.
I paid my $18.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
As we were speaking.
Yeah, we got
subscription for the final call with the prison ministry that you push in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jock Nation.